You're listening to The Greg Kelly Show.
Oh, AOC is having a... Somebody said AOC has a nice butt, right? Somebody kind of said, hey, you look great. Yeah, oh, wow. What's his name? Jordan Stein. Pretty funny, actually. Alex Stein. Do we have him? The hot tamale comment? Oh, good. This is some internet troll dude, and troll is such a nasty word. Here he is on Capitol Hill, and he basically says, watch this, I'm going to harass AOC. And I know I shouldn't find it funny, but I find it funny. Go ahead.
See, my favorite big booty Latina. I love you, AOC. You're my favorite. She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. You look very beautiful in that dress. You look very sexy. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
I want you to do a little selfie.
I love it. My favorite AOC. Nice to meet you, AOC. Look how sexy she looks in that dress. Woo, I love it, AOC. Hot, hot, hot like a tamale.
Like a tamale. Look, it's politically incorrect. It's awful language. At the same time, it's funny. It's just funny. I mean, we're laughing more at that guy, Stein. I mean, who talks like that anymore? You know what I mean? He's just so open and proud about it. You know, you hear, oh, sexual harassment is the worst thing in the world. And it's not good. But there's something kind of funny about it. Anyway, by the way, she comes back. She takes a little selfie with the guy. You know, everything's fine. He's not approaching her. He's like 50 feet away. He's just not, what do you say? It's funny. He's like, I like the Jerky Boys. I think those guys are comic geniuses. I think this guy's pretty funny too. She has a total and complete meltdown and calls a special conference for the LGBTQ community. She does. She calls the LGBTQ journalists from the LGBTQ arena and says, we are not safe on Capitol Hill because this happened to me. I mean, total and complete drama queen. Miranda Devine, brilliant writer, and the New York Post writes about this. She doesn't fight for New York. She doesn't fight for us. You know, the bodega owner, the guy is thrown in Rikers Island and is stabbed by that woman. She has nothing to say about that, doesn't get worked up about that, but gets worked up at, what did he call her again? Hot tamale. Go ahead.
See, my favorite big booty Latina. I love you, AOC. You're my favorite. She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. You look very beautiful in that dress. You look very sexy. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
I want you to do a little selfie.
I love it. My favorite AOC. Nice to meet you, AOC. Look how sexy she looks in that dress. Woo, I love it, AOC. Hot, hot, hot like a tamale.
Like a tamale. All right, she's still having a panic attack over it. It's all fake, by the way. It's all fake. Hey, by the way, she says the Capitol Hill police didn't protect her. She was walking with her fiancé, who, by the way, had one of those little mini dogs. Not a good look. All right, give me a moment. I think this is kind of interesting, and you tell me if I should mention it on the TV show tonight. I think I will. Did you know that George Floyd, you know, the guy who was killed by the cops up there in Minneapolis, did porn? Did you know that? He was in pornography films. He was actually, and it wasn't just some sex tape that leaked. I mean, you know, here's George Floyd, and he's our porn star today, and he's having sex with this woman. And it's all filmed. You can see it on, well, you know where to go to find that kind of stuff. It's very easy to find. And I watched it. At first, I was like, wait a second, is that really him? I can't tell. And then, well, number one, it looks like him. Number two, he calls himself Floyd. And number three, he's got the same tattoo as George Floyd, which is a great big eagle on his chest. And the eagle is holding an AK-47 machine gun. And that's a pretty unique tattoo. George Floyd had one, and the actor in the porno had one, and it's the same guy. Now, what difference does that make? Did he deserve to die that day? No. But I still think it's interesting. It's interesting, and we should know it. As we turn George Floyd into a civil rights icon, 4 funerals, heads of state from all over the world, Joe Biden, the incoming president, going to his funeral, talking about the guy realigning American culture because of his death, captured on videotape. And again, I wish that didn't happen, but I also wish that people understood and knew the facts, and we didn't have a media that was afraid of talking about them. Like that Derek Chauvin, when he kneeled on that neck, and I was as horrified as anybody else, he was actually following a procedure outlined in the Minneapolis Patrol Handbook. a leg restraint procedure. Apply your leg to the neck of the individual you're trying to subdue. It's in black and white, and it was part of the Minneapolis Police Department's procedures. I'd also like people to talk about, or at least to have understood, that he had enough fentanyl in him to kill himself. Also, what about the part that the cops were actually being merciful when they let him out of the cop car? He was having a full-blown panic attack. They thought he might die in the back seat, so they put him on the ground as he wished to be placed. So now I find out he's a porn star. I find out 2 years late, and he was hooking up with a fairly prominent individual in the porn industry. Her name is Banks. So what difference does it make? Look, I know what it is. I've seen all kinds of material. People have. There's no real taboo. Perhaps there should be around pornography. Some of the most successful people in America achieved their success in part because of sex tapes. And let's see, Kim Kardashian. You think that sex tape with Ray J slowed her down? No, it sped her up. Paris Hilton, I think, and by the way, I think they released these things on purpose. But those were sex tapes that were just uncovered. This was, no kidding, he knew he was on TV, he knew it was being filmed, and it was very much a porno scene, all right? He was just meeting this woman, and it was it was all agreed upon. I'm sure he got $100 or $150. And I think we should know those things. Heck, I know that Derek Chauvin's ex-wife was Mrs. Minnesota in some little beauty contest they had. I also know that the Chauvins held real estate. I think they had an apartment in Delray, Florida. I mean, we know all these things about them. Shouldn't we know everything about George Floyd, especially if we're going to have statues for him all over the place? Not saying, by the way, there are porn stars, famous porn stars, not so famous porn stars. A lot of people in America consume pornography. A lot of people in America also look down on porn stars. I mean, they wouldn't have them over to their house for dinner and that kind of thing. And you could argue, hey, that's really hypocritical, isn't it? And maybe there's an element of that. But one of the reasons why porn stars are not kind of esteemed, elevated, because, well, lots of people have sex, but only few choose to make money that way. I mean, in a weird way, anybody can do it, but most of us choose not to. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why, we don't, what? I mean, have you ever met a porn star? Have you ever actually met a porn star? Very few people have. Have you ever seen porn? Most people have. Okay, so there's that. So George Floyd, it doesn't change my opinion about him or the cops or anything like that. But I think it's interesting. You could say it's not relevant. How is that relevant? Well, not everything in the news is for relevance. Some of it is just, oh, that's interesting. I find that interesting. And yes, I looked at it, and it's I don't know if I would say it's interesting, actually, as far as those clips go. That's another conversation about pornography I don't wish to have, because people get really bent out of shape when I raise these issues, and everybody gets mad at me. Conservatives who want to pretend that there is no pornography get mad at me. Some like it, that I'm talking honestly about it. Some people get very squeamish that I even acknowledge that I've seen it. Some people get even more squeamish when I acknowledge how recently I may have seen it. But look, it's not, in a way, it's not our fault. It's not our fault. You used to have to go 2 towns away to the little store there to buy pornography. Every kid in America has access to every act you can imagine in their phone. That it's everywhere, and that's a problem. I think we've desensitized ourselves, and also placed ludicrous, over the top, stupid expectations of our romantic partners. I mean, who could do this stuff? Who would be inclined to do this stuff? Who would want to do this stuff? Well, guys see certain things and they think, okay, I should have all this stuff. I should have all this stuff right now. I know it's uncomfortable. It's weird. But it's hurt relationships. It has hurt relationships. And I guess that's all I'll say about that. Having said all that, though, I will say one more thing. Who knows who Robin Bird is? Robin Bird is actually a very nice lady. I see her around. She's a supporter of mine. I like her a lot. And if she doesn't wear that bra anymore, she's not on that channel anymore. But boy, oh boy, they have a lot of material, don't they? I just want to be honest with you. I don't want to be hypocritical. I don't want, then again, I also want to say this stuff is, I think, damaging. It's not good for anybody, especially the people who produce it, especially the people who make it. You'll notice that a lot of them succumb to drug abuse, a lot of them. And what else? STDs, that's a real problem. And it's just not healthy, I think, to have sex with that many people all day long. It's just it's going to wear people out. It's just not the body's not designed for that kind of stuff. And you know who I know this from? Porn stars, quite frankly. They've come forward. You can look it up. They've had interviews on mainstream TV. Belle Knox, who's the other one there are a lot of former porn stars out there who say, don't do this, it's bad. All right, enough of that. I think. Hey, can we? Oh, I don't have transphobia. I think we talked about this late last week, but I am kind of trans awkward. I'm awkward around trans people. I just am. And I think it's being thrust upon us in the weirdest, most perverse way. I don't get it. I need to know more about the agenda. Why? Why now? Why is this so important? Why is it so important for Leah Thomas to swim on that girls' team when she has every advantage of being a man? And now, insult to injury, and they're playing games with us big time. The University of Pennsylvania has nominated her to be the NCAA, the National Collegiate Athletic Association's Woman of the Year. Woman in quotation marks, of course, and put a big question mark. Woman of the Year. Now, who's getting off on that? Who's taking some sort of perverse pleasure in that? I think that's part of the agenda here. There are some folks, for whatever reason, are getting their jollies by bringing up this transgender stuff and pushing it on everybody, especially children. You know who should be the Women of the Year? Her teammates on that University of Pennsylvania swim team. Tonight on the Newsmax show at 10 o'clock, I'm going to read you their amazing letter when they said, basically, what about us? What about our mental health? We did all the right things to get to this school, to be on this team. And we're literally being blown out of the water with this man, by this man who has every advantage of being a man, yet is going to be identified as a woman or transgender. One of the things about this, it is an instant, easy access path to status. And that's what people want, status. And minimal effort, too. So undergo a surgery, status, LGBTQ. To be the T in that thing, and that succession, boy, right now they have more status, I'm told, than gays in LGBTQ. It's all about transgender, and it's all weird. And not for nothing, I mean, I'm sorry. Have you seen more of them lately walking around the street? I have. They're not doing themselves any favors. All right? I mean, I'm sorry, especially those who transition from men to women. We can tell that it's what we're seeing doesn't make sense. Okay? We can tell. You're never going to be able to shake that. We know. So there's that. And then I hear that crazy lady lecturing Senator Josh Hawley said, do you believe men? She asked him, do you believe men can give birth? And he says, no. Well, then you're transphobic. You're transphobic if you say that. What person, by the way, what woman would transition to being a man, which I guess entails a artificial penis and whatnot, but they keep the uterus? It makes no sense at all. But I guess there are 3 men who used to be women who kept the uterus who are pregnant right now in America. And we should redesign society, bathrooms, furniture, HR to make them feel not just comfortable, in charge. I think that's the ugly part here. They want to be in.
You're listening to The Greg Kelly Show.